Hello and welcome to American Friction, the US politics podcast that is your best friend and best pal and best mate. I'm Jacob Jarvis, and joining me is my bestie. I'm not hers, unfortunately, I don't think. It's Nikki McCann Ramirez. Hi, Nikki.
It's a rough ranking.
Yeah, it's hard. Where would I be in your MySpace
hard.
top friends?
Ooh. That I haven't been asked that in years. Okay, let me think. I mean, I think you'd be in there. I think you make the cut.
Yeah, if I make the top 8,
Yeah.
I'm happy at
that.
that.
I think you'd make the top 8. What if I grouped the podcast boys together?
Oh, okay, so maybe just make American Friction your number 1. That could work, I guess.
Number 1,
yeah.
It's in there.
We'll work it out. So Chris,
Simon's really carrying the team.
Simon would get he'd be in my top 8.
It's cold stuff from Nikki here.
Well, Chris, who I am factually his best friend, and I think I'm still his number 1 on MySpace, which is quite weird. He still uses it. He isn't here today, nah. So it's just us, Nikki, but we've got a landmark to celebrate, actually. It's our 100th show. 100 shows.
100.
How do you feel?
Keeping it hunted. Honestly, this has been one of the coolest projects of the last year and change for me.
Yeah, it's been fun.
I think when you guys reached out to me and were just like, hey, we're trying to do an election podcast. Do you want to be an American? Part of me was like, oh, it's going to be 6 months. We'll be done with this after the election.
Yeah.
It's turned into something really cool. Our community's awesome. You guys are fantastic. The Patreon people, y'all are always my favorite. You are in my MySpace top 8.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it's been super cool. It's the great catharsis of my job right now, which can be really miserable. So yeah, this feels delightful. And I'm sure we will be putting up some 100th episode special content, but it's been great, and I love you all.
Well, everyone, let us know what your favorite moment over the 100th show has been in the comments. So on this show, the 100th show, Trump is still caught up in the Epstein drama. Yeah, the Bush incident. That's my favorite. Anyone who wasn't here for the Bush incident, I'll make sure to post that somewhere. So on this show, Trump is still caught up in the Epstein drama, and it's only getting weirder. Plus, Trump himself is only getting weirder as well. And we ask, why is nobody focused on his Biden-like decline? Welcome back. You're listening to American Friction. Before we get into it, an appeal, a big appeal. We need your support to keep the show going. We love making the show, but like everything in this world, it costs money. And I think that's shit. I wish more things were free, but you know how it is. So we need your backing on Patreon to keep on going.
In this capitalist hellscape.
I know, if Bernie Sanders had won, free podcast for everyone, but that's not where we are, guys. So for as little as £3 a month, you'll get the show ad-free, and other tiers will get you access to bonus content and merchandise. Lots of nice merchandise, actually. There's cool hoodies, which have sort of metal rock and roll fonts on them. It's pretty cool. And if you decide to sign up for one of our £5 a month or above tiers, we've got a Patreon chat community, which is a sort of group therapy session where we can all chat and ask questions about the madness that's going on in US politics. So what are you waiting for? I don't know, nothing good, I don't imagine. So let's go do this. Follow the link in the show notes or go to patreon.com/American Friction to sign up. That's patreon.com/American Friction to sign up. Nikki, Trump, on the Epstein news, we're going to have to do this week's update, aren't we? So Trump says that Epstein stole staff from Mar-a-Lago. What's he talking about here? Because it sounds really dark. Is it as dark sounding as the way I phrased it there? What's going on?
Yeah, so there's a couple things happening here. It has been said by victims who came forward and testified against Epstein and Maxwell in depositions, lawsuits, all of the sort of legal landscape around Jeffrey Epstein, that when he and Trump were really good friends, used Trump's Mar-a-Lago golf club as sort of a hunting ground to poach young women, because Palm Beach, golf clubs, it's fairly common in those types of locations in the US that teenage girls will take on jobs running little carts for the golfers, or you take on your summer jobs, that kind of thing, or if you're not in school and you're working, those sorts of resorts, you can make a lot of money off tips. So young women, also young men, tend to work there fairly often. And the rumor was always that Epstein and Maxwell were sort of recruiting, grooming women in Trump's Palm Beach golf club, Mar-a-Lago. It's known that Trump and Epstein were friends and that at some point they had a falling out.
Yeah.
There was also reporting that they had apparently fallen out because, they both wanted this like beachside resort at Palm Beach, and like Trump outbid Epstein, or like Trump expressed interest and then Epstein tried to get it and Trump ended up getting it. I don't know. But it was always like, oh, there was a real estate deal. There was something. Trump suggested at certain points that he was like kind of creepy. And then this week, Trump, while speaking to reporters, basically said that the reason he and Epstein had stopped being friends was because Epstein kept stealing staff from Mar-a-Lago, like poaching his staff. And the thing is, like, Epstein really wasn't running a business per se. Trump specifically said that Epstein was poaching staff from Mar-a-Lago spa. And if people recall the Epstein case, the young women who alleged that they were trafficked said that they were recruited to be like personal massage therapists for Epstein. And then one reporter asked Trump if Virginia Giuffre, who was one of the original Epstein accusers, she died by suicide earlier this year, but she was like a very prominent accuser who claimed that, she'd been recruited and groomed by Ghislaine Maxwell, trafficked by Epstein, abused by Prince Andrew. Trump was asked if she had been one of the people that Epstein poached from Mar-a-Lago, and Trump said, yeah, that he thought so. This has just revived a whole other aspect of the Epstein case, which was what was the role of Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate and the allegations that were made by victims that like they were picked up there, that this was kind of where Epstein felt comfortable sort of grooming and manipulating young women into coming to work for him, Ghislaine Maxwell as well. So it really just seems like as much as Trump wants this story to go away, he keeps just giving up more information that makes it look worse.
Why do you think that is? Why is he not just shutting the fuck up about this? Because to me, this whole new line, it's like he's got this idea that if he can throw shade upon other people, that will end up making him look better, without sort of thinking of the kind of 4D chess of it all, where it's like, okay, so you're giving a bit more detail on how bad a person Epstein was, sure, but we all kind of know that already. I mean, disgraced paedophile sex trafficker. If you don't think he's a bad person already, kind of, I don't know what's been going on with you. So why is Trump trying to sort of drag his character down when it's just so obviously then, as you say, it's opening up. It's like, well, okay, if you knew he was there trafficking women potentially from your resort, why didn't you fucking kick him out of your resort?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things here. Trump has never really had the skill of like message discipline, in the sense that he's very good at repeating his talking points. He knows how to play the hits at his rallies. But whenever it comes to sort of like scandals and crises, he's not the guy running the PR. You'll see like your Pam Bondis, your Stephen Millers, they'll send out Marco Rubio's and the cabinet members to sort of be the front-facing messaging apparatuses. Trump has the habit of just getting on a microphone and rambling and saying what he wants. And we'll talk about this a little later in the episode, but it's gotten worse as he's gotten older, especially like you can really see a distinct difference between like term 1, term 2. But at the end of the day, I'm not fully convinced that like Trump actually thinks that like Epstein necessarily did anything wrong, or like fully conceptualizes the gravity of what Epstein did. Again, this is a man who, while we now know him as a politician, his original career path was a rich real estate New York playboy who like publicly bragged about sexually assaulting women, has been accused of sexual assault, has been found liable in civil court for sexual assault.
Yeah, I think he just thinks this is weird rich people shit.
Yeah, that's really what I think it is. I think he feels like perfectly comfortable divulging these details because to him, it's just like something that happened that isn't necessarily bad, and it's not like incriminating, and it doesn't look weird that Jeffrey Epstein was hunting for young women at his club. Jeffrey Epstein was his friend and he was just around, and then maybe one day they had a fight over like a Palm Beach like mansion or whatever, and they stop talking to each other because money is the thing that breaks relationship in those echelons of society. But I don't think Trump necessarily has internalized how regular people see this case.
Yeah.
Like the fact that he was able to get on TV and just be like, why is everyone still talking about this? Like other things are going on. Why are we still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? That it just to me indicates that he doesn't view this as a crisis. He views it as an annoyance.
So Democrats are still pushing on a release of more files related to Jeffrey Epstein. Is that going to happen? Is there any chance of it? Because they've obviously tried this before. What route are they going through now? And I don't know, is it just hopeless that that's going to happen?
I mean, I think it's possible. I think it may take, waiting until the midterms, until hopefully like Democrats, if they manage to claw back one of the chambers of Congress, they'll have more powers to like actually issue subpoenas and that kind of thing. But I think the biggest thing they can do right now is just keep their boots on Republicans' necks. Just keep up the pressure and not let this story die. Because what Republicans are trying to do right now is go into the summer recesses for the House and the Senate and then come back in September with the hope that this will just have gone away. And I think now that you have, for example, the family of Virginia Giuffre speaking out and saying, like, victims deserve answers, if the president is talking to reporters and saying, like, yeah, Jeffrey Epstein stole this alleged victim from my golf club, those are things that are worth investigating. And like the more attention this gets, the more consistent attention this gets through the recess, I think it'll be harder for Republicans to make it go away. And Democrats just have to like have the conviction to keep hammering this issue, especially because, as we've talked about, Republicans have made protecting young women and going after pedophiles and groomers and sex abusers a central component of so much of their like culture war platform, so much of their like attacks on trans people, immigrants, like lawmakers. The entire Republican media and information machine has just been like coded in this film of like anti-sex abuse that if they don't follow through on this kind of investigation, it should be incredibly easy to just peel it off and be like, this is performative nonsense. They don't actually care about victims.
Yeah.
And Democrats need to be hitting that messaging.
Yeah, you can't have spent several years suggesting that drag queens are a major threat to children and then say, oh, but the president's best friend was a pedophile sex trafficker and that's all good. That just doesn't...
No, 100%.
Doesn't check out in any way.
None of this checks out.
No, it's bizarre that it's still... The fact it's rolling on without there being any conclusion and any people in the MAGA world seeming to really properly put their head above the parapet and say, come on, what the fuck's going on here is just so bizarre to me. On other things that have been really strange then, so he's been in Scotland this week, a nice bit of the world, on his golf course.
Yeah.
He basically used it as a bit of a promo tour, didn't he, for the golf resort and to show it off a lot. But one thing that I found strange is he's used taxpayer money on his golf course and golf resort. How, why, what's gone on there? How does that possibly work out?
Yeah. So Trump this week had a ribbon cutting ceremony at the Trump International Golf Links Aberdeen. This is a golf course that he's been working on for a really long time. It's like, coastal Scottish dunes. It's beautiful. It's also actually the origin of his hatred for windmills.
Yeah.
Because they put up some like windmills like off the coast that are visible from the golf course and he fucking hates them. But, it's been in the works for a while. And he goes on this trip to the UK and Scotland where he's meeting with Keir Starmer. He's meeting with the EU commissioner. This trip, the estimate is that it costs like $10 million in taxpayer dollars between like transportation, security, logistics, everything that's involved in like a big state visit. And then at the end, he already has a golf club in Scotland. So he went golfing there one day. And that was where that video came out of, where some reporter shouted a question to him about Epstein. And he kind of looked back and then just got into his golf cart and drove away while Memories from Cats was playing. Just like blasting show
Yeah.
tunes, like you can't ask me questions. And then he goes to this ribbon cutting ceremony. He like tees off. His sons are there. It's a Trump golf course. The White House official social media accounts are posting videos of Trump inaugurating this golf course. And the reality is that presidents are not supposed to have investments in private enterprises as the president because it's a very clear conflict of interest. And as we've seen time and time again in the first 6 months of Trump's presidency, he is the public face of a like corporate Trump universe that is raking in potentially billions of dollars. And the sort of weird little loophole they found is like, oh, as long as it's his sons who are swiping the credit cards and signing the deals, it's not a problem. Like, as long as they just transfer the money to the presidential library, or the jet from Qatar is going to be Air Force One for a year, and then it's the Trump library jet that Trump gets to use whenever he wants because it's his library. He can take on these gifts and open up these businesses and do all these things, and he's like legally safe. He's not legally safe. I think there is a very solid case here to be made for like corruption and graft, but it is absurdist. If any other president on the planet had taken a $10 million trip to a foreign country to meet with foreign government officials on the taxpayer dollar, and then spent a day of that inaugurating a private like golf course for themselves, oh my God, it would be like fucking Benghazi all over again.
Yeah.
Obama once got like Dijon mustard on a hot dog and they called him an elitist pig for years.
Yeah, he did. He did wear a cream suit that time, Nikki. So
yeah, no, fuck it.
fuck that guy. On the Scotland visit, I mean, the press conferences were really, really weird. So one thing was strange from our perspective was he was weirdly nice about Starmer, sort of saying how people all across America respect Starmer and all this sort of thing. And I mean, Starmer ain't popular here right now. So I highly doubt he's massively... No, not really. So like, yeah, I highly doubt he's hugely popular across America. But then, yeah, wind farms was his other thing. He hates them. He says that Scotland's are the ugliest he's ever seen. And basically he's talking about them driving whales crazy. So this quote here, I'll just read a bit of it.
He says they murder all the birds.
Yeah, they murder birds and they drive whales loco. But he's saying, we will not allow a windmill to be built in the United States. They're killing us. They're killing the beauty of our scenery, our valleys, our beautiful plains. I'm not talking about airplanes. I'm talking about beautiful plains. Beautiful areas in the United States, and you look up and you see windmills all over the place. It's a horrible thing. I mean, yeah, absolutely bizarre that he's just lamenting windmills, saying that they're a con job. And then, yeah, he said it's driving the whales loco. It's driving them crazy. So he has this theory that it's fucking with their brains. And then he went on to bang on about his golf course building in Scotland. And again, just quoting from him, I don't know what he is talking about here. He said, now, this is a brand new building, but if you look outside, it's equally opulent and beautiful. And we didn't do that by spending, hundreds of millions of dollars in surrounding a railing underneath the area that you're painting. Brand new, beautiful plywood, very expensive, wrapped around a figurine or a railing to preserve it. But you don't have to do that. You can just wrap a cloth. They call it a blanket. You don't even have to do that when you're careful when you're building the ceiling. But I don't know what they did. They take down the ceiling, they put up a new ceiling, and the new ceiling had no opulence. Or they fixed the ceiling, but I would say that all I need is a good plaster and a can of paint. What the fuck is he talking about here? It really is just a complete ramble. And I know that he's always lied, Nikki. He's always gone on tangents. He's always tried to sort of do the whole Steve Bannon flooding the zone with shit sort of thing. But are we addressing enough that he is clearly getting a lot worse mentally?
I mean, yes, but also like to my last point, he hosted Keir Starmer at his private golf course, not the one he just opened, the other one. And he was talking about like all the renovations he did and how expensive it was. Like, he's not the fucking king of England. Like,
No.
You're not supposed to be meeting state officials in your like private palace. You're the president of the United States, especially when you're paying taxpayer dollars. Because a thing to think about here, and this was a problem in the first administration, was that Donald Trump would say, oh, we're going to this location. My hotel is there. Oh, just house the Secret Service at my hotel. And he took in hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Basically having the Secret Service stay in his hotel.
Yeah.
It's like, what are we even doing? And then to your point, yes, he's getting old. He's getting weird. He goes on these insane rambles. And he's always had the nickname like Teflon Don. This idea that the personality he presents, his like weird ass mannerisms, the way he's sometimes kind of funny, the sort of rambling old man style tangents that he goes on, that those serve as a screen through which people kind of filter out some of the like outright fascism or corruption or authoritarianism. And it's just like, he's just like a weird guy. He's just, a little crazy. When in reality, what we're talking about here and what was being presented to us was a like scenario and a meeting that was just like in a rankly corrupt setting where you're talking about a guy who's made, I don't know how much money off of being president in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
His campaign donations, all the private ventures, everything that's going on in the background.
The trainers,
and
the lovely trainers.
The trainers and like all the licensing deals, the fucking Bibles, like.
Yeah, man.
And it's gotten to the point where now we're hosting state events where he just like rambles at the Prime Minister of the UK inside his mansion and brags about all the lovely renovations he did. Like it's fucking Marie Antoinette. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
And I mean, Democrats are really neutered right now, but we've kind of also established the precedent that the president can do whatever the hell he wants while he's in office and it's not a crime. So one of the things we're going to have to think about going forward is that now that the Supreme Court has said that official acts can't be treated as potential criminal offenses for presidents, is there even a possibility that he can be held accountable for this sort of like blatant corruption?
Yeah.
For selling dinners at Mar-a-Lago where if his crypto investors give him more than $1 million, they can come to a private dinner with the president. Like, it's an insane thing. And there are already absurd legal hurdles to holding him accountable for it.
Chris, another silly question for you this week. But what is your favourite type of shark?
Jaws, the one from Jaws.
Just that one. Yeah, that's a scary pick. But it does chime with what I know to be one of your favourite films, which is Point Break, because you liked surfing.
Yep.
You used to put lemon in your hair to try and get it blonde and a little bit surfy.
So it went.
That is the acid. But with all of that in mind, surfing, sharks and surfing. Have you heard of Surfshark?
Is it a bit like Surf's Up, but with sharks, not penguins?
No.
Oh.
It's not a film.
Okay.
It's a cybersecurity service.
No way.
So you've heard of VAR, haven't you?
Unfortunately, I have, yes.
But do you know what a VPN is?
Go on, Jarv. Prove to me how much smarter you are than me, like you always do. Tell me what it is.
I'm smarter than all fans of Surf's Up. So VPNs they're virtual private networks, which allow you to virtually, a lot of virtual stuff happening here, travel the world, watching content from other countries as if you were there, but you're not. Okay. Like a little holiday for your internet connection.
Oh, that's nice, isn't it?
And according to Surfshark, using a VPN is like wearing pants. All the important stuff stays private and secure when you step your foot outside. Just the 1 foot.
Just the one.
Just the 1 foot. And that's what I call my bits, actually, my important stuff
nice.
As well. So we have to search for some weird stuff.
We do.
Important stuff, though. And access content, not that sort of important stuff.
No.
And access content in America when we're researching the podcast. And a VPN can come in very handy for that.
That's right.
As well as helping us to access content, it makes sure that your browsing is hidden from all sorts of snoopers. Dastardly snoopers.
Oh,
yeah, we don't like
snoopers.
them. And if you're traveling and using public Wi-Fi, it keeps your browsing safe and secure. So with all of that in mind, Chris, what should the listeners do?
Well, they should take control of their online safety.
They really
of course. And they can
Idiots.
do that. Yeah, exactly. And they can do that by trying Surfshark today and enjoy their 30-day money-back guarantee.
I can't ask fairer.
So go to surfshark.com/Amfric or use the code Amfric at checkout to get 4 extra months of Surfshark VPN. Surfshark is supporting American Friction, so if you need a VPN, choose the one that helps keep American Friction going.
On some other weird moments from him lately, one that stands out to me, but I'm sure you've got other examples, calling the Prime Minister of Japan Mr. Japan.
Mr. Japan.
Yeah, I mean, there's loads of ways you could describe the Prime Minister of Japan if you forgot his name. But Mr. Japan ain't one of them, is it?
Yeah, you literally could just say the Prime Minister of Japan.
Yeah.
Like the English language gives you alternatives to
Call
do
him
that.
Mr. Prime Minister. Yeah, simple.
Yeah. My editor, Ryan Bort, and I did a big piece last week on how Trump is having more of these sort of senior moments where, you know, he'll be at a press conference to sign an executive order and forget to sign the executive order. He told this insane story a couple weeks ago about how his uncle, who was a professor for years at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, go Beavers, or go Engineers. But it's like their mascot's the engineer, but it's a little beaver. My brother went there.
Nice. A beaver engineer.
Yeah, they're called the Engineers, and then the mascot is a beaver because beavers are nature's engineer.
Oh, okay. Because I wouldn't trust a beaver to actually be an engineer of any kind.
No. Well, they
if I was
built
getting
good
on
dams.
a flight and there was a fucking beaver sorting it out, I'd be pretty pissed off.
So Trump had an uncle who taught at MIT for a really long time, and he claimed that his uncle had taught the Unabomber, like Ted Kaczynski.
Yeah. But isn't it but then he didn't even go to MIT at any point? Isn't that? So
Yeah,
it's just,
no.
yeah.
Kaczynski didn't go to MIT, and he wasn't caught and identified as the Unabomber until years after Trump's uncle died.
Yeah.
So, like, that conversation didn't even happen.
It's so weird.
And then he forgot that he appointed Jerome Powell during his first term, the chairman of the Federal Reserve, because he's, like, really mad at Jerome Powell. The other one is him shitting on the U.S., Canada, Mexico trade deal he crafted during his first term. Now that he's doing all the tariffs, he's like, these terrible trade deals. Who made this trade deal? It's like, you, buddy. It was one of the signature legislations of your first term. It replaced NAFTA.
Yeah.
But yeah, he just keeps having these moments of like forgetfulness. I think you can very clearly tell that he rambles more. He's sort of out of it more. Now we've sort of had an admission from the White House doctors that he's having light health issues, or what they say are light health issues with his veins and his circulation. Like, he is an old man, and you can tell. And I think as Republicans did and as Democrats should have done better, if we're going to set the standard that having an old, senile, mentally declining president is disqualifying from public office, and that there should be considerations and scrutiny about how well that person can execute the job if they are an old person, we got to apply the same standards.
Well, I mean, the Republicans just been total fucking hypocrites. I guess we've just got to chalk off to that's the way it is at the moment. But with Democrats, they were obviously kind of cagey and worried about coming across as ageist when it came to the situation with Biden. And I mean, with Biden, it took George Clooney to make people realize there was issues there. Are they pushing now enough on Trump? Have they taken the gloves off enough on this? Because it doesn't seem to me quite like they're just... This just feels to me it should just be absolutely relentless. Just, dude was friends with Epstein, and look how old and shit he is. And just that should just be it.
I don't think they're doing it enough. Democrats have never really been able to nail the messaging around Trump, around like his personality and how weird he is. And that's why that's the nickname, Teflon Don, nothing sticks. But you absolutely do need, it's still worth pressing it. It's still worth calling it out. It's still worth building a narrative over time that he's old and frail and senile and, you know, kind of get down and dirty with it. I think they should get a little more ruthless about it.
Yeah, I'd be very happy to see that happen. Just one final bit in this section, one important thing that Trump said. So he broke with Netanyahu is how I guess the headlines have been carrying it. But I mean, I'm finding that it's not really necessarily a break to just accept reality. He basically said that he believes that there are people starving in Gaza because there are, and Netanyahu is denying reality and saying that there aren't. We've got a full episode coming out on Monday talking about Trump's relationship with Netanyahu and kind of posing the question as to why he's not forcing him to stop what is going on. That's with Professor Yossi Meckelberg, which is a really, very enlightening conversation. But just whilst we're talking about it in this week, with this comment and this sort of shift away, the slight shift in tone from being not totally in lockstep with Netanyahu, how has that gone down in the US?
It's a mixed bag. There's people who are like, oh my God, he's broken with Netanyahu. What does this mean? Until Trump is like, I am directing the Department of Defense and Congress to cut off arms sales to Israel, it effectively means nothing in terms of policy. It effectively means nothing until the United States starts positively contributing to aid relief again in Gaza. It's all words, and words mean shit when you're like a starving person who's going to die if they don't get food imminently, or like a starving person looking for aid who's risking getting shot by the IDF if they try and go get food.
Yeah.
I think it does finally feel like things are at a potential tipping point. You know, you have more lawmakers in Congress saying this is a famine, this is an atrocity, something needs to be done here.
Mm-hmm.
So last night, 27 Democratic senators, which is the majority of Democratic senators, voted for a resolution that would block arms sales to Israel. The resolution ultimately failed. Pretty much every Republican and then some Democrats voted against it. But that is likely the biggest contingent we've seen so far of like elected lawmakers actually calling for an end to military support from the United States to Israel. It's a huge step in the right direction. Obviously, it would be even better if that aid was cut off and we were no longer complicit in a genocide against a vulnerable population. But I think it's getting to the point where Israel is increasingly isolated, not just like from the United States. The Israeli government is facing a lot of pressure from the international community. I believe the UK said it would recognize Palestine as a state in September.
Yeah, it's unfortunately kind of using it as a bit of a sort of what feels like leverage towards the Israeli government, as opposed to saying we're going to recognize Palestine as a state because we're going to do
because
that.
It should be, yeah.
It seems like it's a bit of we're going to do this unless you do.
Unless you do that.
Yeah, exactly. So.
And that's happened with several other countries at this point. So it's one of those things where we're hoping it sticks. But at this point, the war has been going on for almost 2 years. And there's been many moments where we've thought, this is horrendous. This should be enough to like negotiate a ceasefire, to get this to stop, to try and find like aid and help for the people in Gaza, and it hasn't happened. So I'm hopeful, but we'll see.
Now, to round up some other stories that you might have missed this week. So, Nikki, talk to me about gerrymandering. There's been a lot of this going on this week, and it seems like it's going pretty well for Republicans in that it's essentially going to sort of automatically give them more politicians.
Not automatically.
Yeah, well, not like as an instant automatically, but it seems like kind of straightforwardly like they're basically going to get more. But I don't know. Talk me through it. What's going on?
Every 10 years, the United States does a big old census. That gives you the layout of the population. And then congressional districts are drawn to sort of ensure that, you know, there's a representative amount of people in each congressional district. So it's sort of like the equal representation thing. That's why some congressional districts in rural areas will be huge, because you kind of want to have like a similar amount of people in one area to like maybe a smaller district in a city where there's a more concentrated population. Gerrymandering is the process through which you draw out those districts in ways that are intentionally designed to engineer a specific electoral outcome when the people in that district vote. So, for example, let's say I have two neighborhoods that are like adjacent to each other. And instead of drawing like a circle around them and sort of like putting them both together and maybe coming out with like a 50-50 split of Republicans and Democrats in that neighborhood, I'll maybe draw the circle around most of the Republican neighborhood and then maybe a little bit into the Democratic one to make sure that when those people vote, that district will likely elect a Republican. And that's like a very like sort of probably botched explanation of it. But it's become a really common tactic, particularly in like swing states and conservative states, where the census will come out and Republican-controlled legislatures will look at the map. And because Republicans over the last couple decades had been losing ground electorally, basically chop up Democratic areas into little tiny bits and distribute them across different electoral districts in a way that they can never overcome, you know, the amount of Republicans in those districts, so they can never gain a majority in legislatures. You have several states where even though like 50% of the state population or more than 50% of the state population votes Democratic, the legislature is controlled by Republicans because the state is so gerrymandered that Democrats physically cannot win. What's happening right now is that Trump wants to win the midterms. The midterms are going to be huge. That is sort of the biggest potential Achilles heel in the second administration, is the fact that a lot of the policies being produced right now are very unpopular and that midterms tend to punish the party that's in power. So Trump and his cronies, his people, have developed this strategy where they're basically going to Republican governors and saying, I want you to not wait until the census happens again. I want you to redraw your electoral map now. And I want you to find me more Republican districts. And the state where this is primarily taking place, sort of like the flagship sandbox, is in Texas, where Trump essentially told the Texas legislature and Texas Governor Greg Abbott, a Republican, to find him 5 extra districts. They are not supposed to review the maps until like 2030, I think. And Texas is currently in a special legislative session. It was ostensibly publicly advertised as a special session to approve more funding and aid relief for the areas that were devastated by those floods a couple weeks back. But, you know, they kind of snuck it in there that they're going to review the electoral maps. And the problem here, A, is that it's like completely unethical, probably illegal. Texas is already facing lawsuits. Like the Texas legislature is already facing lawsuits over the past round of maps they made, which, you know, civil rights groups allege are so gerrymandered that they violate the Civil Rights Act and other like federal laws. And now they're doing it again. And then the problem is also that this is a pretty big gamble for Republicans, because gerrymandering, while it can be like a very useful, if unethical, political tool to eke out majorities where you technically do not have them, if you chop up Republican or Democratic areas into too small of pieces, you run the risk that an electoral swing could cost you seats. So, for example, right now there's a really tight margin in the House. If Texas Republicans manage to, you know, jerry-rig 5 new Republican districts out of Texas and send those people to Congress to increase the Republican majority, well, maybe you get to 2026 and you have an election and you've chopped up your like safe Republican areas into too small pieces that the backlash from independents who maybe like vote Democrat costs you more seats. But this is something they're trying in Texas. There's reporting indicating that Trump wants to try it in other states. And Democrats need to come back with like a full-throated response. And that response might potentially be having democratically controlled states do the same thing.
Yeah.
But that's also an insane thing to do, because at the end of the day, gerrymandering works because it violates equal representation clauses and laws and like federal statutes that require you not to discriminate against people. And it's just one of those kind of like moments where you can see democracy and like the process, the like civil rights of Americans being broken in real time. And what can even be done about it? Because the federal courts are captured. The Supreme Court is not going to do jack shit about this. And that was kind of the biggest mechanism to combat gerrymandering was the federal courts and like rulings finding that maps being produced by Republicans were unlawful. That's not reliable anymore. The president is outright asking for it. Republicans won't stop it. So really, like, what other options do Democrats really have other than playing just as dirty?
Yeah.
And it's a slide into a puddle of pig shit.
That's the thing, because the depressing thing about it is it just feels like with all the ways you can combat Republicans at the minute is just making the political system worse and worse and worse and piling more problems on top of more problems, which down the line it's just going to be, you know, if anyone sane gets back into power, they're just going to have a load of shit to try and sort of tidy up, which is going to be, a big old waste of time. When it comes to corruption and tidying some things up at the moment, Josh Hawley, right? So crazy dude.
Crazy dude.
Listeners, you might remember there was the picture of him pumping his fist, wasn't there, after January 6th? And
before January 6th.
Before
it was
January
when he
6th,
was
yeah.
walking in.
Okay, so, he was kind of...
He was hyping up the people, and then a couple hours later, running out of the Capitol for his life.
Not a nice guy, but... I don't know, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, I suppose, sometimes. He's annoying Trump a lot at the minute, isn't he? And this is around stocks. It all sounds pretty fair to me. Like, he just wants representatives to not be able to have a shitload of stocks when they get loads of specialist information which could help them. Why is this creating such a storm, other than complete economic self-interest that politicians basically want to be able to make more money? Is it that simple?
I mean, it's kind of that. Like, it's been a pretty open secret for a really long time that while members of Congress are like not allowed to use the knowledge they get in Congress to trade stocks, that they're supposed to have their finances and any economic portfolios that are under their name kind of placed into a trust and managed by somebody outside of their family. It's very common knowledge that those family members will just get like fed information by members of Congress and then buy and sell in ways that are very advantageous. The joke for a really long time was like the Nancy Pelosi index, that if you just bought and sold what Nancy Pelosi's like index, which she has to disclose in financial disclosures, bought and sold, you would make, I don't know, X amount of percentage above the standard market. Josh Hawley is making a bid for 2028. I'm calling it now. He's fucking running. He's just been, writing those little op-eds about how cuts to Medicaid are bad and endorsing anti-corruption legislation. This man is making a play for the middle, and it's incredibly obvious.
He's just saying that obviously bad things are bad.
Yes.
And because Republicans are so bad at the moment, that's making him look incredible. Like, he looks like a really moral Republican when he's just saying, it's pretty bad to do bad shit.
He's been saying what Democrats have been saying, but not in a good way.
Yeah.
And it just like lands better with independents if it's a Republican, because it's like, oh, it's a reasonable Republican. But yeah, he's making a play for the White House. And I think Trump in like his little lizard brain knows that. I think it's really clear right now that there is not an obvious successor to Trump. There's talk about like, J.D. Vance, but like J.D. Vance, in my view, is a lot more beholden to sort of the technocratic wing of Republicanism, of like the far right. There's like, Don Jr. I think if he wanted it, he would have to start campaigning now. I don't see him doing it. And like, it feels, I don't know. I don't think he has the hype around him yet to do a 2028 run. That's not to say I don't think it'll happen. I think it might. But that Don Jr. succeeding Trump as president feels like a very like MAGA brained, you're deeply in like lost in the sauce sort of take. And I think Josh Hawley wants to position himself as like a reasonable successor to MAGAism. And I think Trump understands that and doesn't like it. So this rant he went on, calling Hawley a second-rate senator who was caving to Pelosi and the Democrats. It's not even necessarily about the legislation, because the legislation itself was incredibly mild and I think had carve-outs for like cryptocurrency and
also had carve out so it doesn't come into play straight away as well. It comes in based on your next at the beginning of your next term. So for Trump, realistically, wouldn't impact him.
It wouldn't do shit
whatsoever.
Exactly. It's not even the legislation itself. It's the notion that Hawley is breaking rank and trying to forge his own path, because the number one rule of republicanism is that is that Trump's word is law and you do what he says.
Yeah.
And that you will be punished if you don't. So, I don't know. It's kind of absurdist. It's very like, let them fight to me.
Yeah, I'd happily let them fight. Tangent, just a thought here that I've had. Do you think Trump also really hates Hawley because Hawley actually kind of looks like the sort of dude that Trump thinks he looks like? Like, Hawley is kind of like a bit of an all-American, reasonably handsome dude, if you're into that sort of thing, I guess. And
Are you
Trump's
into that sort of thing, Jarv?
I'm not into that sort of thing, but you know what I mean? Like, he's got that kind of Kennedy-adjacent look.
Oh, ew.
Does that rile up Trump more, do you think, though? Like, he doesn't like people who maybe show him up in ways it would appear to me. He seems like he's just very vain.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine
he is.
a young,
He
handsome-ish dude must fuck him off more.
I could agree with that. I don't know if it's the necessary like primary driver of this conflict, but I could totally see it. He is a jealous little bitch, the president. So yeah, I could see it.
Right, let's touch in on Democrats very quickly towards the end of the show. Kamala Harris. So she is not running for governor of California. Is this because she wants to keep her powder dry so she can run for president again, do you think?
She's not running for governor. She is publishing a book about running for president. That was announced today. I will get an advance copy soon.
I can't wait to read that. It'll be so good.
But don't run for president again, Kamala. Just don't. Like, you know, I truly believe that when you lose like that, you just got to go make like Hillary Clinton, take a long walk in the woods. Think about whether you really want to do this again. It's only worse the second time around.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this would be the third time she'd run for president. And I think two was enough. I think Democrats this time around need to focus on building talent for the next 2 or 3 years and really have a aggressively, meanly, maybe even ugly primary where they really exercise the demons and let the base tell them what they want. Because the problem in 2020, maybe even in 2016, definitely in 2024, was that it really has felt for like 3 election cycles that the Democratic Party has not asked its constituents, hey, what do you want? It has told them.
Yeah.
And demanded that they get in line and made decisions about the way primaries are run that heavily favor the candidate that's backed by the institutional party, not the voters. So I think we need to have like a sloppy process to select the next nominee. And I don't think Kamala should be in it.
No. I mean, I think if she does decide to be in it, though, as well, she's braver than me, because I don't imagine she'll come out. If they actually have a decent primary competition, surely she just gets trounced.
I don't think she would win.
Yeah, she would just look awful. Finally, can we check in on Oprah? So there's there's a tsunami happening in parts of America, talk me through what's going on there a little bit. But basically, some people trying to flee a tsunami claim they couldn't use a road to do so because it's owned by Oprah. She's kind of pushing back a little bit. What's happening here?
Well, okay. So there was an earthquake in Russia, like an 8-point-something magnitude earthquake. There was tsunami warnings issued in Hawaii. This kind of happens every time there's an evacuation order in Hawaii. Oprah does not own the road. The road is owned by a gigantic ranch, and Oprah has like an easement agreement, basically an agreement that lets her use the road. She's not the person who decides whether or not the road is open to the public. It's like the ranch. She can have input, but it's the ranch that decides. And the road was open. I think it opened at like 5 p.m. the day the warning was issued, like, oh, like the warning went out, and then it kind of took some time. Either the ranch or like local police reached out to the other, and then they were like, yeah, you can use the road. But no, Oprah is not, being like, you can't come on my road. You should just die in the tsunami. Like, that's not a thing.
Okay.
And it's a beautiful example of how, like, unverified misinformation spreads.
Yeah, and how you're a shill for billionaires, I guess, Nikki. But that's let's talk about that.
I'm not even a shill for billionaires.
Shilling for Oprah.
What do you want me to
man.
do? Lie?
Yeah, well, yeah, I reckon. I think you're allowed to lie about billionaires.
All right, I'll
that's my
lie
new plan.
all
so,
day,
yeah.
all the time, just for you.
What the hell are you playing at, Oprah? Right, Matthias Boeing asks us a question this week. So,
right.
what is the long-term effect of states bowing in front of Trump, the bully, on tariffs? Latest example, European Union and South Korea. So, do they hope that they'll have free of the pain and that the tariffs will be reduced when a Democratic president comes in or accepts some sort of reality? What do you think the goal is there?
I mean, yeah, I think that's part of it. I think a lot of countries have figured out that as long as you tell Trump, like, oh my God, yeah, we'll invest all this money in your country and we'll do X, Y, Z. It's not like you say that and then he like collects a check.
Mm-hmm.
You can sort of delay for years at a time. The Gulf states are great at this.
Shilling for Oprah and the Gulf states today, Nikki. And oil nations as well.
I'm not. Look, it's not a respectful. They're good at this. You just recognize game. Okay, players get played.
Yeah.
But they can, delay things until he's out of office. I think also the thing about tariffs. Yes, they might mean, we buy less stuff from the EU, but at the end of the day, a 15% tariff on imports from the EU is just a tax on consumers who buy products from the EU in the United States. Like, it is a consumption tax. That is what a tariff is. And I think the US is under the impression that, like, it exports a lot more to other countries than it really does. I think Trump is under that impression. We import far more from other countries than we export.
Yeah.
And if we're just tariffing all of our imports, again, it raises consumer prices. We're already seeing it raise consumer prices here in the United States. And I think most countries are pretty happy to be like, yeah, if you want to shoot yourself in the foot, go ahead. Like, as long as, like, we're doing okay, we'll make a deal. But most of these countries, I don't think there's, like, such an insane trade balance.
Yeah.
I think they're, like you said, they're kind of willing to like suck up the short-term pain to avoid a sort of larger debacle. I do hate the fact that like wine is going to get more expensive.
Oh, sorry, man. Is American wine good?
It's okay.
Yeah. All right. Well,
okay.
Now it's time for a silly question.
Silly question.
American toy makers are reportedly struggling, according to Newsweek. They're facing a grim financial reality as economic headwinds and US trade policy continue to squeeze margins and see higher costs being passed on to the consumer. So, as we might be seeing the end of toys, no more toys in the near future, I wanted to ask you this week, what was your favourite childhood toy?
Oh my God, I just forgot the name.
You don't remember the name? You can't have loved it that much then.
What the fuck was it called? You tell me yours first.
So mine was I've got a couple that kind of stand out to me, but I think it's got to be Tots TV. Does that ring a bell to you at all, Nikki?
Not in the slightest.
So that's the silly high-pitched voice that me and Chris do every so often. So yeah, Tiny from Tots TV. And he speaks like this the whole time. And there's like three of them, and I had a tiny doll, and I used to speak to it as if it were a sort of real person. And I'd come back from school, and if I'd had a bad day, my mum would ask me how school had been, and I wouldn't tell her. But then she'd voice Tiny, and I would tell Tiny everything, and really just get deep into it. And then he'd rat on me to my mum, the little shit. So yeah, that was my favourite. But then beside that, I had loads of my dad's like vintage Star Wars stuff, and they were all pretty favourites. Like I had a Millennium Falcon, but like one from like the 70s, and that was pretty sick. So that goes up there as well. But yeah, that's the cool answer. But Tiny from Tots TV is definitely the real answer.
So I think my favorite toys were I had a Tamagotchi and I loved it.
Nice.
I kept that thing alive for months. It was great. It was obsessive. It was probably not good for my brain. The other one I really remember was like sea monkeys. I don't know if you had sea monkeys.
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
UK.
they ring a bell. Yeah. Talk me through
Yeah,
exactly
those,
what
like,
they were again, though.
That little tank where you would hatch what I think were like microscopic shrimp.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, it's like some prehistoric creature. It fucking wasn't. Lies. But I remember like me and my cousins, we got one summer and it was just like, wow. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. The big memories are like our first gaming console that we ever had in our household was like a PlayStation 2. That was insane. I remember getting a Wii.
Yeah.
We were big on the games.
Yeah, I remember
but
my dad buying a PlayStation 1 and just, nailing Crash Bandicoot.
Oh my God, yeah.
And just,
but as like a small child, probably like I had some dolls, an extensive collection of McDonald's toys.
Yeah, McDonald's. How good did McDonald's toys and stuff used to be? I have a gold-plated Pokemon card from Burger King.
What?
That came free in a like
Nice.
Burger King meal. Gold-plated. Like, really, after 2008, the world did go to shit, right? They used to be giving out gold at Burger King. Simon,
Yes.
I know, really. The economy's gone to hell.
what's your favorite toy from childhood? Was it gold-plated?
Oh man, this is such an easy question for me because I'm a bit older than you and I got to experience the greatest toy release ever, which was the Game Boy.
Oh,
my God.
that's a good one.
The Game Boy was just, I coveted that thing
Yeah,
so
yeah,
hard. And when I finally got one, it just really just paid off. It was exactly what I wanted. Had some amazing games. I mean, not that many games, but I used to play, like Tetris was the one it came with, which obviously classic. And Super Mario World.
Yeah.
And then there
Ooh,
was
that's a good
a
one.
really addictive tennis game as well. So just like all car journeys with my family, I was just stuck to that thing in the back seat.
My cousin got a Game Boy Color.
Oh, yeah.
And then the first one I ever had was the Game Boy Advanced.
I got the Game Boy Pocket was my first one.
Ooh.
I remember, yeah. But I remember my uncle getting me that when I was just way too young to have a games console, and I used to have to just get my dad to play it for me, basically. Just to be like, Dad, I can't fucking do this. Can you beat this for me? Simon, did you ever have your first... So what I remember about Game Boys, I'd be curious to know if this is a universal experience, was my first experience of intrusive thoughts, where you'd be on a car journey and think, I could throw this thing out the fucking window. I won't, but I could. Did you ever have that?
I can't say I ever wanted to throw it out the window. No,
I never wanted to, but you just sort of thought, what would happen if I did? Just
Really?
intrusive thoughts like that, yeah.
No,
Just me?
no.
What if I just...
Yeah,
It was-
exactly, yeah. What if I just yeeted this out the window?
No, I think it's probably more for me just my first experience of addiction.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, they've got a lot to answer for on that. Well, listeners, tell us about your favourite toys or your first experience of intrusive thoughts, whatever that might be. And if you want to ask us more questions, remember that you can do that on our Patreon community chat, which you will have access to if you sign up to our £5 and above tier, which also gets you bonus
That's
content.
right.
It's on Patreon. There's a link in the show notes, patreon.com/American Friction to sign up. And that brings us to the end of this episode, the 100th.
end.
The 100th episode of
Oh my
American Friction.
God.
For the 100th time. Thank you, Nikki.
Thank you, Jarv. Thank you, 100. Thank you, Simon.
Thank you, everyone. Chris, thank you. Thank you for not being here, man. I guess you don't care
No, Chris
about our
is going to be
anniversary.
99.
Yeah, forever.
Forever.
Yeah. And Simon, obviously, big thank you to you. Thank you for
guys.
putting up with this for 100 episodes and
It's been
editing
a
it.
pleasure.
I
Been a
wonder
pleasure.
how many words I've said wrong in that time. A lot.
More than 100.
Yeah, definitely more than 100. Yeah, more than one mistake a week. Fucking hell. Well, guys, if you want me to try and make less mistakes, remember, if you back us on Patreon, that makes me better at my job, actually. So
It does.
patreon.com/American Friction to sign up. Every little bit more money makes me more focused on this damn podcast.
I doubt it.
A quick reminder that if you enjoy what we're doing and you can't back us financially, we do get that. But do rate and review and subscribe wherever you're listening to the show. And maybe share it to a friend. That'd be really nice. We need more listeners. So recommend it. Word of mouth. Just tell everyone, I've been listening to this amazing podcast called American Friction. People will think you sound so smart if you say that. So you've been listening to American Friction. Make sure you keep on listening for another 100, another 1,000, maybe 10,000, but perhaps I won't live that long. Sorry to neg anyone out, to just get a bit existential there, but I've got 1,000 in me, 10,000. Who knows? Let's see. Bye.